There's a death clock in Switzerland. In the Swiss village of Buglen, there is a clock known as the death clock, which was built in 1600. It has an inscription that reads, "I show you how quickly time passes, but I never show you how much time you have left." It's a reminder of the fleeting nature of life, and its ominous tone has intrigued visitors for centuries. The Mona Lisa was stolen and found after 2 years. In 1911, Leonardo da Vinci's famous painting, the Mona Lisa, was stolen from the Louvre Museum by an Italian named Vincenzo Peruggia. He hid the artwork in his apartment for over 2 years before being caught trying to sell it. It was returned to the museum and became even more famous because of the heist. A man survived the Titanic and died in a car crash 37 years later. 19-year-old Michel Navratil survived the Titanic disaster in 1912, but tragically died in a car accident 37 years later in 1949. The first Mickey Mouse cartoon was almost banned. When Walt Disney released the first Mickey Mouse cartoon, Steamboat Willie, in 1928, it faced a backlash. Critics believed the character of Mickey was a low-class and improper influence on children. A pirate once had a terrifyingly successful career without killing anyone. The pirate Ching Shi, a woman who commanded the Red Flag Fleet, was one of the most feared pirates in history, but she never personally killed anyone. Her success was due to her strategic mind, leadership, and ability to negotiate. The first recorded use of toilet paper was in China. The earliest use of toilet paper dates back to 6th century China. The first recorded mention was in 851 AD, and it was used exclusively by the imperial family at that time. Ancient Egyptians used mice as pets. The ancient Egyptians domesticated a variety of animals, including mice. They kept them as pets, and mice were even depicted in some Egyptian artwork as playful companions. A king once lost his crown to a dog. King Charles II of Spain, who reigned in the 17th century, once lost his crown to a dog. The incident occurred when the dog ran off with the crown, and it had to be retrieved from the animal. The first recorded use of X as a symbol for a kiss. The use of X to represent a kiss dates back to the 15th century. In medieval times, people who couldn't write their names would sign documents with an X and then kiss it to show their sincerity. The X eventually became associated with kisses. A pirate code existed with strict rules. Pirates, despite their wild reputation, often followed a strict code of conduct. The pirate code included rules such as sharing plunder equally, treating injured pirates, and forbidding gambling. The first person to reach the South Pole wasn't who you might think. While many credit Roald Amundsen for being the first to reach the South Pole in 1911, it was actually an earlier, lesser-known expedition led by Captain Robert Falcon Scott that reached the pole just a month later in 1912, only to perish on the way back. The first recorded use of paper money was in China. The first use of paper money occurred during the Tang Dynasty in China, around the 7th century. It was initially used as a form of receipt for merchants to avoid carrying heavy metal coins. Roman emperors could be assassinated by their own soldiers. The Roman Empire had a brutal tradition of soldiers assassinating emperors. Emperors were often murdered by their own guards, as happened with Julius Caesar and many other rulers throughout Roman history. A pharaoh was buried with his favorite pets. Pharaohs of ancient Egypt often had their favorite pets buried with them. Cats, dogs, and even monkeys were sometimes placed in tombs alongside the pharaoh to accompany them in the afterlife. President Andrew Jackson had a pet parrot that swore at his funeral. The bird, named Pole, reportedly had to be removed from Jackson's funeral for cursing too much. Roman gladiators rarely fought to the death. Despite what movies tell you, most matches were highly regulated and often ended when one fighter yielded. Gladiators were expensive to train and maintain, so they were valuable assets. The Great Fire of London in 1666 killed only 6 people. Despite destroying much of the city, the official death toll was surprisingly low, though some historians think the real number was higher. Hitler, Stalin, Freud, and Trotsky all lived in the same part of Vienna in 1913. They weren't friends or known to each other, but for a brief time, they all lived within a few miles of each other. Pope Gregory IX declared war on cats. In the 13th century, he associated black cats with devil worship, leading to mass killings of cats, which some historians believe helped the spread of the Black Plague due to increased rat populations. President John Adams had a dog named Satan. The second U.S. president had several dogs, but the most eyebrow-raising name goes to his pup named Satan. The Leaning Tower of Pisa took nearly 200 years to build. Construction started in 1173 and was completed in 1372. It began leaning only 5 years in due to soft ground. A baseball game once caused a war. In 1946, a riot broke out after a baseball game between U.S. Marines and locals in Mexico City, sparking a diplomatic incident known as the Baseball War. There was once a U.S. political party called the Know-Nothings. Officially the American Party, they were anti-immigrant and anti-Catholic. Members would say, "I know nothing," when asked about the group, hence the nickname. King Charles VI of France believed he was made of glass. He had to wear reinforced clothing and forbid anyone from touching him. He also thought he'd shatter if bumped. Harvard was founded before calculus was invented. Harvard was founded in 1636. Isaac Newton and Gottfried Leibniz developed calculus in the late 1600s. In ancient Egypt, servants were smeared with honey to attract flies away from the pharaoh. Literal human fly traps. Royal comfort above all else. Bicycles played a role in women's rights. In the 1890s, bikes gave women unprecedented mobility. Susan B. Anthony even said the bicycle has done more to emancipate women than anything else in the world.